So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. You are in for a treat today again. I think we've only got treats for you here on the Thursdays, but yeah, nah, never mind. But we have a special treat. I think it's a special treat because this is my former coach on the cellular health coaching. He is now a master coach, and he is, I think, a walking lexica inside vitamins, minerals, whatever you need. You just ask him. He always has a qualified answer. I think he's been around many, many years. He's been training people who's been to the Olympics and a lot of other things. Us, he's tried to train us as well. So today, I think the topic is very interesting because if you don't know how to fix yourself, you might be just a little bit wiser when the time is up today. So, Master Coach Brent Anjem, please take it away.
Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome.
Everybody, you'll want to have a pencil and paper or pen and paper because I'm going to talk fast, and so you can listen fast. If you got any questions or any comments, just write it down, and when I'm done, then we'll open it up for question and answer and comments, and we're going to cover all the areas of the complete package, body, mind, and spirit, and we're going to do 10 minutes on each one, 10 minutes on the mind, 10 minutes on the body, 10 minutes on the spirit. And, I'm just a collector of information. If one of the gifts I have is to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad. And I'll just present you everything I've, in general. This is because all of these things we could spend hours on each little part. But this will be an overview, and hopefully they'll be covered in other future lectures more in depth on each individual thing. First we'll start with the mind because everything starts in here and then works its way out. Tony Robbins, he talks about gratitude, and that's why you should start every day with gratitude and thankfulness. It makes everything better and keeps perspective better on everything. One of the things he said in his big seminars, he says the most valuable thing you could do for yourself is to hire a personal trainer, a cellular health coach. We can provide that. And he gives out free seminars now and, worldwide. And so if you can tap into one of his free seminars, I would highly recommend doing it. And he's got fabulous books. But the secret of all those motivational speakers like Tony Robbins, we're going to cover in the last section. We're going to boil it down to the simplest parts of what they spent hundreds and thousands of hours in books trying to teach you. On the mind, really quickly, the most important thing you can learn, we can put that chart up of, the vision. Without a vision, the people perish. You've got to have a vision. You got to know where you're going. We've covered this in the cellular health coaching program, and you got to have a crystal clear vision of where you want to go. In this journey to your vision, there's obstacles and there's helps. The obstacles are the tools of the dark side of the force. Worry, doubt, fear. The opposite from the light is faith, belief, and hope. The trick is you've got to keep your eyes set on your vision. You want to have that vision higher than the obstacles can be. And that way you can always go around them, overthrough them, whatever you got to do to get there, because it's worth it. But if your rewards and goals and dreams are not bigger than your obstacles, then you're going to focus on those, or they're going to be so big that you can lose your vision and it's not worth it. You give up. And so the way to do that is you got to make that dreams or rewards and visions bigger than the obstacles can be. And so one of the first ways you got to do that is with a physical picture. because in life we learn 80% by sight, 12% with the other senses, 8% by hearing. And then you want to have a 3x5 card written in the present tense with your affirmations of where you're going for your reward, your goals and your dreams. And then the secret of the universe, which is sacrifice. You've got to learn that sacrifice opens all of the windows, you know, to make all your dreams come true. And postpone gratification. And anything that you have visions on motivates you to overcome the obstacles. Now, the good thing about the obstacles is once you overcome them, they make you stronger. Without those, you don't get strong. You know, just like exercise, you know, each time you push it beyond what it was meant to do, it's got to adapt. It wants to get stronger. The same thing with mental exercise and spiritual exercise. You want to overcome obstacles in all those areas. The secret of the universe is sacrificing the appetites, emotions, and passions. We still have them, but they need to be under control. You need to control them, not them controlling you. Otherwise, you're a slave to them. One of the statements here was, when you reach for the stars, you may not quite get one, but you won't come up with a handful of mud either. That was Leo Burnett in 1938. The other thing you have to do is you got to program that mind. And that picture and the 3x5 card are all about self-hypnosis. Hypnotizing yourself so that you can reach your vision, your goals. In the picture of the subconscious mind, the subconscious, creative subconscious, that's all parts of our human computer. This thing is so massive and powerful. It's more powerful than even these supercomputers they say are more powerful. They're not, because we have the ability to tap into the sixth sense or the light, which they can't do. And that's the first time I come up with that. That's a new thing that was just given to me. In your subconscious mind is stored all your data and stored in the form of pictures. And to create, which creates your reality, because we always act in accordance with truth as we perceive it, according to those pictures that are stored in our subconscious mind. We want to also understand that this creative subconscious controls all the biofeedback and controls our body functions to make the pictures in your subconscious and your reality match. And it will control all of that stuff, whether you know it or not. So the way, if you want to change your reality, all you got to do is change the way you think. You got to change the pictures. And they found out it takes about 3 to 5 weeks of serious effort to change that, get rid of the old pictures and put a new picture in the subconscious. You knew that with that daily visualizing with the pictures and the 3x5 card. And we'll get a little more into that later. But it's the creative subconscious is a sanity device. Its only job is to make sure that the pictures in your subconscious and your reality match. It controls your self-talk. So you want to make sure you control that. Always praise yourself. That's not like me. Next time I'll do it that way. Never beat yourself up. And Sarah and we've had other lectures and just recently about yourself and how to love yourself and talk to yourself good. Let's see. Okay, so that's the main part of all of that. Change the way your reality, change the way you think. Okay, it's time to go on to the next section. The body. Your body, like we talked about in the CHC, very important is almost 70% water. Hydration is so important for all your functions. Plus, it's got to have the minerals in there, the conductors and semiconductor minerals, so that it can transport the electricity. You get a tub of distilled water and you put 2 electrodes in one side that go to a little fan and 2 electrodes in the other side that go to a battery. And it's just distilled water, pH 7.0. Put 1 drop of minerals in that, and that fan will start to spin, because then it can transfer through the water, through those minerals. So that is the second most important thing. We're literally made from the dust of the earth, and 70 trace minerals. And 2 of the biggest sources of concentrated minerals on the earth are the Dead Sea and the Great Salt Lake. So we have access to all of those things. Also, very important to all your life is breathing. And most people are shallow breathers. So every morning you should get up in the morning, first thing, and do some deep breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. It also creates more nitric oxide by doing that, which helps for your cardiovascular and your heart. The William Hoff methods of breathing technique is, really a good one to work from. Your blood sugar, you want to control that. And the blood sugar is controlled by your nutrition and, the peace in your life. Either, stress will cause it to go out of whack, and so will crappy diets. 1 in 10 in America are diabetic. The other half don't even know they are. 1 in 5 have high blood pressure. And, everybody has got crappy diets, but that's not the main factor, I think. The main factor is because of stress, because most everybody's trusted in the arm of flesh, their own ability to handle and take care of and do all of these obstacles and challenges in life. And you cannot do that by yourself. You need to tap into that higher power, the light, and God. And then you have ultimate power to be able to overcome those things. And so you do all you can do, and then trust in the Lord to do the rest. That way you can stay at peace. Because in your autonomic nervous system, anytime, in the parasympathetic mode, oxygen goes into your cells, CO2 goes out. If you're in the sympathetic mode, under stress, mental, physical, or spiritual, the CO2 stays in the cells and the oxygen don't go in. That creates a breeding ground for cancer, bacteria, and virus. Creates a high acid environment. And all those things die in high alkaline at peace. So you stay at peace. Your breathing, hydration, the correct attitude is the big thing in controlling that. And then in your blood sugar, it's is a baseline right here. Anytime you eat a carbohydrate, it's going to make your blood sugar rise. How fast it rises or how high that glycemic index is its glycemic index. The index I'm going to use is white bread is 100. Glucose and dextrose is 130. Wheat bread's 95. Table sugar 95. Fruit 70. Vegetables 30. When you eat a carbohydrate, it rises. And when you're up here, you're diabetic. Down below baseline is hypoglycemic, and that's much more dangerous. You can fake pass out and die down here. Your body knows that, so it's going to be a massive cravings to get some high glucose or sugar to make that blood sugar rise so you're not at risk. And so that's how some people can be diabetic and not be eating crappy and not be under and overweight, is because they're under chronic stress. Because stress will drop that blood sugar down, dump the glycogen from your liver and your muscles with exercise, and exercise is a stress, into your bloodstream as glucose, so your blood sugar rises. And anytime your blood sugar rises, circulation is restricted throughout your body, especially the peripherals. And then it's hard for your heart, because it's a pump, it has to pump a certain volume through the tubes through your body and down to the feet and the back of the head and the eyes. The blood pressure goes up. And that's why when your blood sugar is high, circulation is restricted, blood pressure goes up. And that's why people have high blood pressure, because of all the stress and everything they're under. So stay at peace, do everything you can to do that. We got a chronic stress we want to get rid of. Acute stresses, happen in daily life, but we take care of those and then move on, and then fix them and move on and get back into that peace state. So controlling blood sugar is a factor of both those things. And if you do that, and circulation is good throughout your body, it carries all the nutrients and the oxygen and fixes most of people's health problems. You control those things right there. And the heart disease and stuff, you know, blood pressure, but that's plaque on the arteries, and that you want to keep that endothelium healthy so that the plaque don't stick, because that's a mild form of scurvy. In the old days, the sailors that sail the ocean did not get enough vitamin C, and their arteries would split and they'd start to bleed to death and hemorrhage inside and die. They started carrying little limes with them on the trips, and they call them limeys, and to keep that so you don't have, but everybody's getting today not full-blown scurvy, but not enough not to cause little cracks and fissures in the arteries, especially right up by the heart, where your heart's moving it and flexing those arteries. Then your body comes in with your friend cholesterol, plasters that crack so you can't bleed to death internally and die. And then you keep doing that, and pretty soon it's plastered, it closed. Our body produces 5,000 milligrams a day from the liver. So we build all our hormones from cholesterol. Every cell in your body requires you die. Is the answer to poison with a statin drug. So if you can't produce cholesterol, at the same time, it kills your production of coenzyme Q10, your major heart antioxidant. And so there's not one drug that cures anything. You know, food should be your medicine. Peace should be your medicine. Help people, you know, give them an alternative and teach them. And if people, but you can only help the people with anything that have eyes to see and ears to hear. Only those that are ready. And those are the ones we can help right now. Now, some of those others might be ready later on, but right now, those are the only ones we can help. So don't, you know, worry over it. You can plant seeds in people that are not ready yet, but you don't spend a lot of time there. We got so many people we can help that are ready. With this knowledge we can get through the cellular health coaching programs and all this, it's amazing how much knowledge and light is out there, and it's come to us in these last days here. Protein, you need 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. If you're working out hard, which everybody should, you know, be doing at least 10 minutes of HIIT training a day. Fats, you know, especially the good fats. There's so many crappy ones out there. Stay away from all the refined oils and crap that eating out. Don't eat deep fried stuff out. You make it at home with extra virgin coconut oil or avocado oil, you know, for your salads and everything else, the extra virgin olive oil. Those are the good oils. And they're so critical because you build all your cells in your body. All the cells have a coating of oil around them. That's the wall of the cell. And inside the nucleus, the cell is a wall of oil. If you build it with the crappy oils, that's going to be weak on those cell walls. If you build it with the good oils, they'll be strong and resilient. So choose that wisely. In fact, Dr. Perricone, dermatology professor at Yale University, the Rimker Coral says the worst thing you can put in your body is hydrogenated oil. These crappy oils, I mean, because it affects every cell in your body and its ability to operate right. So that is critical to your health. Stay away from that crap. Carbohydrates, eat just the best stuff, the organic, the fresh fruits and vegetables that are and a balance and exact and in optimum mode, when you're at the right body fat percentage, your diet should be about 1/3 fat, 1/3 protein, 1/3 carbohydrate, as far as calories go. And getting down to that, if you want to make your body eat the fat, keep your protein adequate, your fat adequate, and cut the carbs down until your body is where it needs to be. And then you can raise the carbs up to equal those. And I always had my clients, you know, drop their carbs to about 10 grams per meal, you know, so less than 50 a day. And then in phase 2, I'd have them drop for 4 days. They just eat salad and protein. And on the 5th day, they'd have equal protein, equal carbs, and equal fat. Because when you kept the carbs under 20 a day, it pulls all the glycogen out of the liver and the muscles, and you operate in ketosis. And after you're burning pure fat. And after you cycle that for a month, 4 days on that, 1 day off. At the end of that time, it's pulled the glycogen out of the muscle and liver and put it back in, and it's reset the insulin receptors. So now they're not insulin resistant anymore, because everybody's, in today's world, we have so much abundance that we overeat, especially of the carbohydrate. And when your body eats carbohydrate, your body produces insulin, so it can move that carbohydrate and store it in the body, in the liver and the muscles, in the form of glycogen, liquid energy. If those storehouses are already filled up, the cells resist the insulin. Hey, my storehouse is filled up, I can't take anymore. Leaves it in your bloodstream as triglycerides, liquid fat. If you don't burn that up out of your bloodstream during the day, it's going to store it as fat. Okay, supplement chart. There's the supplements that I recommend at this point in time. And this can always change based on what I learned, but this is what I've come up with so far, and this is in kind of order of priority. So if you have that supplement chart, you can stick that up there, Vicki. Number 1 in priority is redox. Regenerate those cells so that you're communicating like when you're very young. Number 2, L-arginine, L-citrulline. 5,000 milligrams of L-arginine, 1,000 of citrulline. Trace minerals, MSM. I could go into all of these details on all these things. D3, selenium, vitamin C, krill or salmon oil, omega-3s, magnesium, calcium, zinc, B12, and all B's vitamins, glutathione, taurine, iodine, Lugos iodine works good, DHEA, 50 milligrams for guys, half that for women, Mucana, L-Dopa, progesterone cream, zeolite, micronized and cleaned, nanosilver, ashwagandha, black seed oil. Now, for especially in today's world, to get rid of the spike proteins, nanokinase, curcumin, bromelain, and quercetin, 5-HTP, and ZIM and DIM, which will get rid of the, help metabolites get rid of the estrogen in your body after you've dumped all the fat. Detox. In Isaiah, it talks about health in the marrow, navel, and the bones. In the Bible, underneath your navel is 70% of your immune system. The other comes out of your bone marrow. Intestinal flora, 70%. And autoimmune diseases come about because of an imbalance in your intestinal flora, where your guts and that 4 to 6 pounds of good healthy bacteria in an adult gets unbalanced, in the autoimmune diseases based on how unbalanced it is. Master cleanse would be recommended to do that, once a year. Fasting, we'll talk about that later. Fasting. Dr. Christopher's liver cleanse and kidney cleanse are a great supplement. Zeolite, micronized and cleaned, we talked about that. Body fat, get you some calipers, and when you got that, Gary's got the good formula of how to simply measure your body fat, because the scale will lie to you. You don't know what's going on. You got to have those calipers in the chart to make that happen. On your hormones, your hormone chart, you can see on the hormone chart, if Vicky's got that, it can show you everything's built from cholesterol down to pregnenolone, and then the master hormone, progesterone, and that builds DHEA and also the cortisol and the testosterone and the good estrogens. And the cortisol, if you're building all this cortisol and dropping your progesterone level, your body screaming to the body, hey, I need more building blocks for my hormones, and so it'll produce more cholesterol. So even if you're not eating any cholesterol and you're under a bunch of stress, you're going to produce more cholesterol. So all of that drugs and stuff is just crap. Okay. Next, and the most important, is spirit. This, I'm going to give you what all of those motivational speakers in all their hundreds and thousands of hours and books and everything simplified in the next 10 minutes. Okay. Light. We talked about frequencies, and everybody like in news, these med beds and all this stuff's going to be done with light and radio waves and everything. And the earth covered with radio waves of all different frequencies. And if you tap into it with your radio, you can pull out of that frequency the information that's on it, whether it's music or voice or the information. The same thing with light that fills the universe in all these different colors and frequencies. You can tap into that also. And we'll get into how to do that, like Sarah talked about a little bit in her last week's presentation. But we'll give you the 3 steps to be able to tap into that, anything you want. All right, here's the article. Okay, I'm going to read fast, listen fast. Faith is an intelligent force. Belief is of which we access the power of that force. There's 2 kinds of faith. Functions ordinarily in daily life. It gives us certainty that a new day will dawn, the spring will come, and the growth will take place. The kind of faith that relates us with confidence to what is scheduled to happen. There's another kind of faith, rare indeed. This is the kind of faith that causes things to happen. It is the kind of faith that is worthy and prepared and unyielding and calls for things that otherwise would not be. Faith that moves people. It's the kind of faith that sometimes moves things. Few men possess it. It comes by gradual growth. It is marvelous, even transient power, a power as real and is invisible as electricity. In a world filled with skepticism, you show me and I will believe. The spiritual things, it works the other way around, that believing is seen. Imagine the faith is an electricity and belief as the electrical plug that taps into that power. Belief would motivate you to take the action of plugging in to access the power of electricity. Voila, all lights would go on, energy would surge suddenly, and you would have power to do and create things. Clearly, belief is essential to the connect to the intelligent force of faith. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. The opposite is true of unbelief. When a man works by, or woman works by faith, they work by mental exertion instead of physical force. It is by words instead of exerting the physical powers with which every being works when it works by faith. God has constructed the mind of man to mimic his own. The development of the mind of man is after the order of the mind of God. That is, God has fashioned man's mind to be the organ that contemplates, initiates all creation. The mind has the capacity to envision something that does not yet physically exist, then tap into the power of faith and cause things to manifest. This godlike ability is creative phenomenon in the mind that is often called seeing with the eye of faith. The mind can look forward with an eye of faith to harvest the fruit thereof. The mind of man blessed with the DNA of deity is able to envision futuristic, substantive things. Thus begins the process of creation. The intelligent force of faith perceives, then responds to the mind's vision and man's declaration. Like plugging into that socket, faith infuses energy into the vision to begin the process of making the declared thought a reality. Then things and people can commence to move, resources start to gather, and creation begins to take shape. There is an opposition in all things, yin and yang. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction in the universe. Just as fear and faith are opposite, doubt and worry and belief and hope, yin and yang. No child of God can escape the fact that his or her mind is creative organ patterned after the mind of God. By this construction, the mind is always creating its present and future realities. Every thought, absolutely every good and bad thought that issues forth from the mind of man initiates a response of respective creation, understanding that negative thoughts create destructive realities. As children of God, we are independent agents, endowed with the ability to choose. Consequently, substantially, everything that exists in our world is of our own creation. We are not always as victimized as we would believe. And as creators, we are responsible for our personal reality. Whether we like it or not, the thoughts we think and the words we say instantaneously plug into the intelligent force of faith and commence a creative process that will manifest physically unless we counter with new thoughts and new words. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." Faith typically is accessed by desire or hope, like a seed, like a mustard seed. When we nourish the seed with even a particle of faith, it has power to grow into a great tree that bears abundant fruit. Even if you can no more than desire to believe, let that desire work in you. A motivational speaker, Brooks, said, "Power of the mind points to the studies that demonstrate exponential creative power when declarations are coupled with envisioning and emotionalizing, assuming that the seed of hope is now planted in your mind." Brooks lists the following 3 steps. Number 1, you declare it. And just in your mind, declare it. You got a 10% chance of making that a reality. If you envision it, and like reading it with a 3x5 card and just envision it, seeing it with eye of faith, you got 55% chance. But if you emotionalize that, read it with the emotion and tap into your other 5 senses, smell it, taste it, feel it, and make it so crystal clear that it will become a reality. That is 100% chance it will become a reality. The same thing as if you do that with negative stuff. The intelligent force of faith is impartial. It will create whatever you declare, envision, or emotionalize. It has no choice. Like electricity, it can be used to create good and bad conceived in the mind of the creator. The intelligent force of faith is the indiscriminate tool of the creative mind of man. The ultimate discipline is to control your thoughts. Faith is the intelligent force by which God's work. Consequently, because we are children and apprentices to God, we are placed in this mortal experience, which is designed to help us discover and live by the principle that governs faith. When we find ourselves lacking, cognizant of the fact that faith is the only power that can change our circumstances or create another reality, we appeal to God to access his greater love of faith. Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Faith works in all things. If you have the faith in money, it'll do whatever the power of money can do. Faith in the human body and whatever the human body can do. And always breaking the limits, like the 4-minute mile was broken. Now they do it even faster. But if you have faith in an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God that can do all things, then all things are possible when you tap into that kind of faith. Lord, I believe. The request for divine intervention summons grace, the enabling power to become more than we are and receive more than we have. When grace adds faith to ours, the resulting faith is sufficient to set in motion a creative process that will result in a miracle. Earth life, wrote this lady, Catherine Thomas, has been configured in such a way as to present each person with dilemmas he or she particular needs in order to grow in the power of faith. You can see this, those of you that believe in the Bible have read it or should read it. To overcome, this is part of what we're talking about. The natural man, or the worlds, the appetites, emotions, and passions. Look at Revelations 2 and 7, Revelations 3 and 21, John 16 and 33. God has endowed us with the mind of like his own. This origin of creation has but to think a positive or negative thought, and immediately connects to the intelligent force called faith, which permeates the universe. And the reward of this you can find in Matthew 5:48, Romans 7:14 through 18. If we stay the course, substantially, every thought that we think and see in our mind's eye, and each declaration that we make will find fruition. And that's talked about in the book, The Secret, the video, The Secret. You know, what you think about, you bring about. The Bible also, and if you want any more information and we talk to you about those, you can email me, victoryoverselfbrent@gmail.com, and I'll call you, or we can text back and forth, and I can explain more of those to you. Plus, if you're interested, also the Bible answers the three biggest questions everybody has asked themselves, consciously or subconsciously, when they came into this world, and how they answer these three questions is how they're living their life. Where did I come from? What am I doing here? And where am I going? And I can show you where those things are, and we can talk about that later. Okay, Sarah's talked about this and developing that faith to tap into that frequency, any frequency. And the other thing you understand is, you know, you can be given anything that you're ready for. When a kid that's 5 years old asks your mom and dad to teach them how to drive the car, they're too young. They're not ready for it yet, physically or mentally. But when they're 16 and proving themselves, sure, we'll teach you how to drive the car. Same thing with any light you want, any question, at anything you want to receive. And to do that, number one, you got to believe God is Mother and Father in heaven. They love us. They want us to become like them, so they want to help us. Number two, they're all powerful, omniscient, omnipresent, and so they can help us. Three, that our actions are in accordance with their will, so they will help us. That's what gives you the confidence and faith to tap into that stuff. Just and then you can look at this picture, this Hubble telescope. They call it the God's eye. And on the left side is comments by a guy that, you know, and Einstein had just split the atom, and the reporters came to him and says to him, "How does it feel to be the most intelligent man in the world, Einstein?" And he says, "I don't know. Why don't you go ask James E. Talmage, who was one of his scientific, you know, cohort in that time, his peers." And on the other side is a famous author, you know, C.S. Lewis, and what he has to say. Look at that. The last two things. One is that stops people's, you know, progress worse than almost anything, and it's lack of forgiveness. Forgiving all things. The greatest person who ever lived, Christ, he forgave all things that came against him, especially undeserved. And that's when we feel the worst, is when we have things that come against us and we haven't deserved them. Those are the hardest to forgive. But that's why you learn to forgive, and that's why it's talked about, you forgive your enemies, do good to those that despitefully use you. And without them, we would not be able to progress. We'd not have adversity. We wouldn't be able to grow. So you pray for them. But during, you know, defend yourself while in the present. You know, if I catch somebody in the act of doing something bad and evil and stuff, that I'll take care of that. But after the fact, and it's past and it's done, then you need to forgive and move on. Now that is something that society hasn't taught us with the movies and everything else. And you've got to mentally learn that. It took me years to figure out how to do that and finally get to that point. And the other thing is the law of the harvest works in all things. The seeds you plant come back to you later, multiplied in kind. So the thoughts and everything and actions, like a kernel of corn, you plant that and water it and grow it. In the harvest, you can get back hundreds of seeds of kernels of corn. And so that you want to be very careful with the seeds you plant in your mind, good or evil, because they're coming back to you later, multiplied in kind. And the reason they come back later, I just found this out a week or so ago. Why it doesn't happen immediately is so it gives you time that you can repent and you can change and humble yourself. And that's how we need to stay humble, like a little child, so we can learn and grow and progress in all things. And now I turn it over for a question, answer, and comments. Love to hear from all of you.
Thank you, Brent. As always, you've blown us behind everything. I don't know how you feel, but I'm quite out of breath. You have so much information inside your head. I don't know how you do that.
Thank you. That makes me feel good.
Good. That was my intent.
That was so magnificent. So magnificent. Thank you, Brent.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
If any questions popped up into your head while you were listening, now, Anne, please.
Questions
you,
or
Brent.
comments?
That was-
All of them. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Brent. That was amazing. My question is on the first slide with the clear vision, there was a box of negative just under, where's my question? Under your dreams.
Good question. I'm glad you picked that out. And that is, when you're first learning to go after your vision, there's some negative things that probably motivated you to want to, go after that vision. And you don't want to really focus on them, but you can use them to motivate you. Like a lot of, women and men that I helped transform their health and their bodies and stuff like that. They had negative things that people had said to them and made them feel bad. And I even used it when I was working for the phone company. And, some of the guys that I worked with, on outside construction and stuff, they called me fat. How can somebody that fat climb poles? And so I used that as a little motivation, so that that wasn't the main thing I focused on. The main thing was, going on a cruise with my wife and looking good and feeling good. But it was a piece that helped me. And so once I got down to 7% body fat and was all tanned and tight and everything, and this was in the middle of winter, I go into the phone company building early, and I put a picture of my before picture and on the door of 2 doors going into the building, and say, "Day of revenge for those who are mean to this poor little fat boy." And they walk in, and I'm sitting at my desk with just my Levi's, no shirt on, the veins are sticking out, the muscles, and cowboy hat and dark glasses. And all these guys are usually coming in the morning and they're all mouthing, they didn't say a word this morning. They were just all stunned. It freaked out the boss, freaked out everybody. It was a fun thing. The blessing of that little prank was within the next few months, I had 10 of those 20 asked me to train them and help them get rid of their diabetes and their high blood pressures and all their meds. And so there was a good thing that came out of that.
Great, thank you.
Did that answer your question, Anne?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Of course.
Perfectly.
Thank you.
Perfectly.
I have
Thank you.
another one. Can I ask another question? Real
Sure.
quick?
Yeah.
The 3x5 card, you said, okay, what do you include in this 3x5? I mean, if I want to write everything, it's going to be much bigger than that. So
Beautiful. Anything that you want. Well, I'd start with about 7, at the most 10 on the card, one-liners. Like my card would say, "I am 10% body fat by this date. I look and feel 20 years younger. I am full of strength, energy, and vitality. Nothing goes in my mouth but what is on my nutritional schedule." I also put in, I'm always close to the spirit. I always add other things to help me. Small daily goals that I work out and do cardio 6 days a week. Small daily goals that help me reach the long-term goal of, how I'm going to look and feel and full of health and vitality. So, and you're always in the present tense as if they exist right now, because your subconscious does not know the difference between a vividly imagined occurrence and an actual happening. It will create the same things in your mind. You know, I can do that with, in fact, right now, you haven't probably seen this before, but let's say right here, on my chair, I got this nice cold, crisp lemon, and I cut down through it with this knife, and I pick up half that lemon. I just squeeze that into my mouth, and then I take the other half of that lemon. I just pick it up and take a big bite out of it. Now, did that really happen? But most people's mouths water when I did that, because it was vividly imagined, and your body doesn't know the difference. Your creative subconscious says, "Whoa, got to get ready for this acid that's coming in. Let's create the enzymes." So you can create that with those things, and most of the things you want to start with is "I am." The Lord knows how powerful that is. Moses came to God and says, "I've got to go tell Pharaoh who sent me. You tell him I am that I am sent you." So most of the statements, I would start with "I am."
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. And Lila, you have your hand raised.
Yes. Thank you, Brent. I like that you should start in the morning with gratitude. I've come across this with gratitude journaling in the evenings. And so I think maybe you can have this item twice. So my personal, let's say, I have a hearing impairment since I was 3 years old. So sometimes I don't catch all the words and meaning. So I just wanted to clarify. You said this about, forgiveness. I think I will underline that because it's kind of synchronicity. I was on a meditation yesterday, and we got like homework to observe this theme with forgiveness. And I've reflected on that long time. And so I think that you brought it now up in the light again, so that I think there's very much lack of forgiveness in the world. So I say thank you. But what I didn't catch was the law of, when you talked about planting seeds, was it the law of gestation or something else?
The law of the harvest.
Oh, law, yeah, then there is a period of gestation also, but thank you. Yeah. Well,
and it's the same thing for that. Why it doesn't happen immediately. That is, there's a time for you to exercise faith, just like in the opposite, when there's a time for justice, there's a time for repentance. They don't happen immediately. It gives us time to grow in both areas.
Yeah. Well, I have more self-confidence now. I'm educated as a medical doctor a long time, but I don't like the negativity there. So I've approached more spirituality, because it's not so much in Sweden in the allopathic medicine, but there was something. Well, it is still that you need. This is about my hearing. I also had. I looked myself identity. I intellectually, I think that I was paralyzed. I couldn't be that champion, but I like table tennis, by the way. But I think my self-image, without knowing it's like I was told things I couldn't do more, but now I'm expanding. I think there's a limiting beliefs. So I need this kind of, I appreciate very much that you point out spirituality is the most important. And so I follow that path. So I'm working on that to tell, because I didn't understand myself that my lack of hearing, it shaped my perception. And so I had some confusion, but I'm getting more clear. I've tried, vision boards and images, but I like really this, that we have the power more than we understand. We have our imagination. So you made a very thorough presentation, though I had some difficulty to follow because you're very quick. So, but you covered everything. So thank you.
But Lila, please remember, you can always, when it gets uploaded, you can always go in and listen on it again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Yes.
Dr.
I-
Samuelson, did you have a comment?
Don't think I had my hand
Oh,
raised.
I just saw you sitting with your hand. I thought you were going to say
I
something.
was agreeing with everything that was said.
Oh, okay. Brent, do you want to answer Lila?
Yes, and she's very right that also should be the starting with ending with gratitude at the end of the day. I sent that out, in fact, this morning. Somebody posted something about Wayne Dwyer, said that you should always end your day with gratitude, thanking for these things, because that sets your mind for peace and a good sleep, and the gratefulness for everything. I always have done that, and always the prayers at night before you go to sleep, because I was always taught to give thanks before you ask for anything in your prayers. And so I've always done that. But, I specifically, gratitude should be that last part of your day, so that your subconscious goes to sleep with peace.
Yeah. May I say something more about mornings?
Yes, you can, but we have 4 minutes left. So, yeah.
Well, I've never been an early bird. My grandmother and an uncle, they were the same. So I thought, well, that's bad. When you're going to work, you have this difficulty. But now I've started some daily journals, at least before 12 o'clock. So I think I will have some daily habits to change, to be happy. And then I'm alone in my household, so I lie in bed and subconscious. So I think I've been more alert about dreams. So yesterday I took a notebook just to have the possibility to write down something. So I just wanted to say that I hope I can change a little the rhythm. So
You can change anything.
Yeah.
Just start. You just learned that today.
Yeah, I was angry. How do we inherit those patterns? But I think there are things in generations. So we need humor too. I remember this. We can change anything.
So
That's
I
right.
hope actually, if you learned nothing else today, that you learned if you never placed yourself at the starting line, it's never too late. You can always start. Always.
Yeah.
That's
And
right. And your genetics or your environment, whatever it was in the past, and that's only a small percent. You can change anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, it's where you go from here. You got eyes in the front of our head to see where we're going, not where we've been.
But
and celebrate the small victories. I think that's very important too. I've been in a place where I couldn't actually almost not move because of bad health. And I've actually last week, for the first time in 7 years, I ran 400 meters. Not went, but I ran like in running.
Yeah.
Great.
Melanie, this
Yeah.
is the last
Very
one, I think.
quickly, very quickly. I appreciated like so much your things about where we came from. What am I doing here? Just I feel like I want to go to church to your church once a week. But I wanted to say about faith. You know, that's why the 12-step programs, which are a spiritual program, are so, I got to shorten it down. Okay, why they work is when you cannot do it on your own. And like, I couldn't get sober. And I looked up to heaven with a drink in my hand and something else in my hand. I said, oh my goodness, you really are going to have to help me. I thought I could do this by myself. Like, I give up. Please help me. That was the last day. I had a, yeah.
Beautiful, Melanie. Yeah, email me and I can talk back and forth with you more about all that stuff.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for sharing. I just want to tell you that next Thursday, you're in for a treat again. But next Thursday, I would remember to have a block on my side and a pen to write, because we are going to have fun. Simon Lim is going to show us to ferment. So we can actually get our colons working the right way. I want to thank you all for coming today, and I wonder if Dr. Samuelson would like to say hi to us all and wish us a good weekend.
Yes. Brent, again, a great debt of gratitude to you. When I wake up, I think of all the people that have put their selves forward to help other people to realize who they are. And you are one of them. And I'm grateful for those people who can remind us, you know, where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? And now we understand that we can tap into great power and potential and decide. It is kind of a spiritual feeling that, you know, who am I and where am I going? And decide where we're going. And make that vision big. And I believe in the principle of sacrifice. I know it's true. I believe in the principle of the harvest, or the law of the harvest. I know that's true also. You know, what you sow, so shall you reap. And all of these principles I know these principles also to be true through my totality of experience in life. And so I'm grateful, you know, for all of you and for Brent for being here discussing this today. And it is true that we can live to our greatest potential. And we have not even an idea of what that potential can be. We're just getting there. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
God bless you. Thank you.
Bye. Love y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love and blessings. Especially Vicky. I love you. You're Danish, like my mother. Yeah.